Hello everyone and welcome to the course. Here we are at the very first window that we have when you click on Launch Engine. And if you're a completely beginner, it might be a little bit overwhelming, but I'm gonna go over this first window and then we're gonna create a project and I'm gonna show you the basic interface of Unreal as well to make you more comfortable with the interface and all the things that we can do inside of Unreal. So first, this window over here is just an initial setup for your project. In the left side over here, you can see that we have a different kind of templates related to a specific industry. And that's basically an initial file that has a lot of setups and different files in a way that make your life easier if you are doing something related to this industry. For instance, if you are creating a game, so the best thing that we can do is choose this template over here that's gonna have a lot of initial setups for your files that make sense to create games. The same gonna apply to the other templates. So here, if I'm creating some architecture project, well, we're gonna have a template that's specific for architecture, and that's a way that Epic Games found to make our life easier. In our case, I'm gonna go to the games. I'm gonna create a file based on this game template. Inside of this game template, we're gonna have some initial files that again can make your life easier. So for instance, if you are creating a car race game, so we have this template over here that already have a basic setup, some building blocks that make your life easy if you are creating a race car game. And the same gonna apply to AR, virtual reality, and so on. In our case, you are creating a scene, so it doesn't matter too much which one you're gonna choose. However, I still think that the third person template has some files that can help us to create our scene. So we can, with the third person template, we already have some setup to walk around, to play. We have some characters that you can play with and look around and see how your environment goes. And if you create here, maybe later we can use this same file to create a game based on this environment that we're gonna create. So that's completely fine and it makes completely sense. Okay, so for our file, we're gonna choose the game template and I'm gonna choose these third person files. Here on the right side, we have the other different options. And the first one is choose between Blueprint and C++. You can change that later, it's not a problem. But in our case, you're not going to use any of C++ because you don't have any, we're not going to create any systems inside of this file that requires C++. So Blueprint is completely fine. So my target platform going to be the desktop. So I'm going to create something to a desktop, not to mobile. And the quality preset I'm going to set to maximum. And also gonna check this started content because again, this started content gonna give me some files, some materials, some meshes, some models that can be helpful for us throughout the course. So we're gonna check this one over here. And lastly, you need to choose the project location and also a project name. So here in the project name, I'm gonna call this project as Cottage Environment. You cannot use any spaces to name your file. And also we have restrictions with like pretty much all the special characters. I think you can use just the underscore if I'm not mistaken. So okay, so now I'm using the underscore cottage environment, and then after I set up everything, I can go here and click and create. Once you compile everything and Unreal Engine creates your project, probably that's gonna be the interface that you're gonna see. So as you can see, you have the third person template, because I choose to use the third person template. And you have a lot of buttons and a lot of things that if you never opened Unreal Engine before might be overwhelming. But we're gonna see that Unreal Engine is very straightforward in terms of interface. It's just a really big piece of software, so you have too many things to do inside of Unreal, so that's why it might be a little bit overwhelming. And to start and explain to you, first I'm gonna go over this interface over here, which is pretty much the interface of our game. So if we are creating a game, and right now we have this, and because I choose the third person template, I already have this kind of environment blockout to test a few things. And also if you want, you can go here and click and play. And if I do that, as you can see, we have a basic third-person template. So here we have this character, and then I can walk around using WS and D, and you can jump, pressing space, and things like that. So we have this basic setup for you to test and play if you want to. Okay, so if I want to leave the game mode, I just need to press ask, and now I'm in the edit mode again. Okay, so now let's go over all these tabs and all these buttons. First, here we have this outliner. So the outliner basically is a list of everything that we have inside of a level. And right now, this one, it's a level. So we have a level over here. What we are seeing, the interface is a level. And all these items here, you can see that when I click on something, the outliner highlights inside of my level. And we have all these parts over here. And the outliner is basically a way to make easier to find and organize everything that we have inside of our environment. So we're going to create our own environment, and we're going to have a set of items here, the same as here. Other windows that's very important is the details panel. So if I click, for instance, this one, the chamfer cube, this little guy over here, you can see that we have these details panels. And these details panels is basically a whole set of properties that we have related to this chamfer cube over here. So for instance, here we have the location, but if I change the location, we're gonna change the location on the environment as well. The same is gonna apply to the rotation and the scale and so on. Here we're gonna have the static mesh, materials, and a bunch of properties related to this specific item. And this details panel is going to change, of course, depending of the item that we are clicking. So for instance, if I click here in this directional light, the directional light, we're going to see lights with much more details later on, but basically this directional light is our sun there. And we're going to have a lot of properties related to the sun. So I can go here and change the temperature. So you can see that the color changes based on the temperature of the light. Okay, good. So these details panels outliner are very important for us to manipulate things inside of our environment. And other very important tab is this one, the content drawer. So we need to click to open. And the content drawer, it's similar to the outliner, but basically the content drawer, the content folder, it's everything that we have inside of your project. So for instance, here we have one environment, but not necessarily going to have just one environment inside of your game or your scene. So you can have several environments. The content drawer doesn't have things that are inside of environments, but things that are inside of your project. So for instance, if I go here in this characters folder and open, those folders that we have here are folders that came with this initial template that I choose, and also because the third person template. So here in the characters, I'm gonna have mannequins, and then we have meshes. You can see here that we have some different meshes. They are mannequins. So I can go and drag and drop one of them to our level. And you can see now that we're gonna have a brand new item in our outliner. But here we still have the same mesh in our content drawer, because you can use this mannequin in whatever other level I want, because this mannequin is not attached to this environment, but to your project itself. So here we create an instance, we create just a copy of the file that has here on the content drawer. Okay, good. So we're gonna manipulate the content drawer later. It's just for you to understand a little bit better. Okay, nice. So here we have a few properties that are useful too. So for instance, I can change the camera speed, so that's very useful. Yes, okay, so right now the camera is too fast, but if you have a really big environment, to look around your environment, you're gonna need to increase this camera over here. And also we have another options that, so snap sizes, snap angles, scale snap, and things like that. And you're gonna see that later as well. Here we have some different views. So right now we are in perspective, but we can go here and change to top. For instance, we can see that we have a wireframe version. I usually don't understand anything when it is in wireframe, but I can go here and change to lit. And now I can see my level from the top. So if I want to change the perspective, I just need to go here and change to perspective again. Okay, good. So, uh, guys, might be a little bit overwhelming this video, but you're gonna see in much more details later each of these parts. I'm just trying to breaking the ice here, so don't worry about it if you're feeling a little bit lost. So, other thing that's important that you're gonna use a lot, it's the modes. So Unreal has some different modes. So right now we are in the selection mode. So selection mode is basically a mode that you can select things, move, scale, and drag and drop things inside of your environment, play, and so on. So most of the time you're gonna be in this mode because it's a selection mode, but it's more like a editing mode. But if you click here and just drop down, we're gonna have different modes. So we're gonna use a lot the landscape mode. So the landscape mode you're gonna see in the next video, but basically it's a mode that's specific to create landscape and manipulate landscape. So create mountains, rivers, and carve things and things like that. So we have a bunch of different tools specific to landscape. So you can see here that when I'm in landscape mode, I'm not able to clicking anything because this mode just cares about the landscape. We have another mode, so we're going to use the foliage as well later. And this mode is basically to apply some foliage and create some plants, your environment. The mesh paint we're not going to use. The modeling we might use a little bit. So Unreal Engine, it's a while now, has some basic modeling tools. I still prefer use some DCC software like Maya or Blender. I think it's much better. We have much more tools and you can do things in the right way. So I'm not using the modeling tools too much, but sometimes you need something really fast, really quick, and really simple. We can use the modeling mode as well. So probably gonna use a little bit throughout the course. And yeah, basically those are the modes that we're gonna use. I'm gonna go back to the selection mode. And lastly, to not make a super big video, we have this place actor part, and this place actor, it's similar to the content drawer, but the content drawer, it's files that we create. So for instance, of course, you have a lot of files that we didn't create, but if we're gonna start creating levels, we're gonna start creating materials, and we're gonna have things that are gonna model in Blender, and then we're gonna import to Unreal. So all those things gonna be here in the content drawer because they are files of your project. The place actors, it's not files that we create and it's not necessarily files that your project has, but building blocks and setups and systems that Unreal already has. So for instance, I could go here, I can go very simple and choose lights, and then I'm gonna go and create a light. So this light already exists inside of Unreal. I'm just using something that Unreal has for me. So this kind of items, it's what you're gonna find here in the place actor. So maybe I can go in and find like a post-process volume like that. This post-process volume, you can manipulate the light, you can manipulate sounds and things like that. So you can go and maybe create, make it bigger like that, and you can start creating some configuration that's applied just inside of this post-process volume, for instance. So you're gonna find things like that here in this place actors. Okay guys, so I think this is the very basic of the interface of Unreal. As I told you, if you never use Unreal before and if you never use another software that is similar, it might be a little bit overwhelming, but just bear with me a little bit because in the next videos you're gonna start have deep dives in each of these parts of Unreal one at a time, and for sure everything is gonna make sense to you. Alright guys, so we're gonna end this video right now, and in the next video we're gonna start show you with more details the landscape mode, because the landscape mode is gonna be a very important mode because you're gonna create our environment there. So you're gonna create mountains, and I'm gonna show you the brushes and some plugins and things like that. So you're gonna understand very well how the relation between the landscape mode, the selection mode, the outliner, and the details panels work. Yeah, you're gonna start doing that in the next video. So see you there.